We must go to Bethlehem. They're back to the thing. The trip was long. Mary grew tired. Her baby was on the way. When they got to Bethlehem, they found no place to stay.
Good job.
The innkeeper! And then stop. Honey pointed in and said, there's a place that's warm and dry. You can stay there instead. The tires settled there and browsed some paper bed. Mary's little one, God's own son, was born in the shed that night. He melted tired and cleaning cloth and hold him off so tight. It was Christmas night, and Jesus came and was born for me, for you. So I'll give thanks to Jesus. I hope you thank God too. Merry Christmas.
Christmas tree. Jesus is the King, born for you and me. Come on, ring those bells, everybody say, Jesus, we remember this your birthday. Come on, ring those bells, like the Christmas tree. Jesus is the King, born for you and me. Come on, ring those bells, everybody say, Jesus, we remember this your birthday. Come on, ring those bells, like the Christmas tree. Jesus is the King, born for you and me. Come on, ring those bells, everybody say, Jesus, we remember this your birthday. Jesus, we remember this your birthday. The shepherds came to see the baby stood by his mother's side. Here lay the Savior inside a manger. Oh, what a glorious night. Oh, what a glorious night. Shepherds wondered, they couldn't hide it, told everyone in sight. All were amazed when they heard how God came down on this glorious night. God came down on this glorious night. Christ is born. I hear the angels singing. Hallelujah, let the earth receive her King. I know that love has come. Sing it out. Jesus Christ is born. I heard that Jesus Christ is born. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Star shining in the sky. Below in Bethlehem, the King is sleeping. Oh, what a glorious night. Oh, what a glorious night.
Welcome to the special worship of the Camp Zion. Thank you for coming.
And thank you for supporting us all year long.
By teaching us in Sunday school. By praying for us. By financially supporting us. By including us in worship, even if we're loud. And by showing us how to follow. We're excited to share the program with you. Please sit back and enjoy the program. It's called God with Us. Nice job, guys. not my fault.
Yes, it is. You were looking at your iPhone instead of paying attention to our Sunday school teacher.
And now we're all sent out of class.
I was doing classwork. I was looking for Christmas pictures of the 5 shepherds.
5 shepherds?
Sure, just like in the song.
What song?
4 shepherds watch their flocks by night.
It's not 5 shepherds, it's while shepherds watch their flocks by night.
Besides, we didn't get sent out of class to study the Christmas story.
We didn't, then what are we supposed to be doing?
You'd probably know if you'd been paying attention.
How was I supposed to know that we would get argyled?
Argyled? What are you talking about?
We didn't get argyled, we got exiled. That's when you get sent away and you can't come back.
We've been exiled from our classroom so we can study Genesis 3, the story of the fall into sin.
Yeah, Adam and Eve were created, and they lived in a wonderful garden, and they got to talk to God.
God told them that they could eat the fruit of any tree in the garden except one, the one in the middle.
That fruit must have been hard to resist.
It was hard to resist. A snake came and convinced Eve to eat the fruit off that tree, and she ate it. Then she talked Adam into eating it too.
That sounds bad.
Yes, it was. God only made one rule about what they couldn't do, and they broke it.
They got kicked out of the garden, and they lost their close connection to God.
Hey, they were exiled just like we were.
But we'll be able to go back to class later. Did Adam and Eve ever get invited back into the garden?
No, they didn't. That sin changed their lives forever.
And it didn't affect just them. It was the start of sin for all of us.
Well, that's a pretty sad story. I wasn't really in the mood for a sad story. After all, it's Christmas. We should be doing happy Christmas stories.
I wonder why our teacher assigned us this story to study at Christmas.
And I will put empathy between you and the woman, and between your offspring, and hers will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Genesis 3, verse 15. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. Isaiah 7, verse 14. Happy birthday, Jesus. I'm so glad it's Christmas. All the tinsel and lights and the presents are nice, but the real gift is you. Happy birthday, Jesus. I'm so glad it's Christmas. All the carols and bells make the holidays swell, and it's all about you. Happy birthday, Jesus. Jesus, I love you. Happy birthday, Jesus. I'm so glad it's Christmas. All the tinsel
It's not my fault.
Oh, please. It is so your fault.
All I did was try to get us into the Christmas spirit.
You were singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
In the middle of class.
And now our Sunday school teacher sent us all out.
Yeah, we were exiled to this tiny room.
Exiled, isn't it like breathing out?
Not exhaled, exiled.
And what's exiled?
Exiled is what happens when you're forced to go away and be somewhere else.
It's no fun. How long do we have to stay exiled anyway?
Until we learn the story of Moses and the Exodus. You'd think we'd be asked to study the Christmas story. After all, Christmas is coming soon, you know.
Anyway, what happens in this exile thing?
Well, it starts with God's people being slaves in Egypt.
So they couldn't leave Egypt and go back to their homes in Israel.
Did the people of Israel ever get out of slavery?
Yes, God brought them back to Israel, but it took a long time.
God told Moses to tell the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, to let his people go.
But Pharaoh refused. That's when God sent the plagues.
Some of them were pretty nasty. The river turned into blood, hail ruined crops, and lice was everywhere. It was a mess.
God really showed the Egyptian who was boss.
The last plague, the 10th one, really did it though, the angel of death.
The angel went all around Egypt and killed the firstborn child of every household.
But not God's people. God told the Israelites to paint the blood of a lamb on their doorposts.
The angel of death only visited the homes that didn't have blood on their doorpost. At last, Pharaoh told Moses to get out and take his people with him. The people were no longer in exile, right?
Right, they were free to go back home. They had a long journey ahead of them, but they eventually made it to the land of Israel.
So, where is the connection to Christmas?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't get it either.
We'll have to keep thinking about it. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders.
And he will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of the government and peace, there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. He was heralded by the angels, born in a lowly manger. The Virgin Mary was his mother, and Joseph was his earthly father. 3 wise men came from afar. They were guided by a shining star to see King Jesus where he lay in a manger filled with hay. Jesus. What a wonderful child. Jesus. Jesus. Listen.
Someone racist.
It's not my fault.
Really?
I know it looks like my fault, but it wasn't. And now here we are, exited to this room.
Exited? What do you mean?
You know, when you're sent away somewhere and you can't come back.
Not exited, exiled.
I agree with Maya. It's not her fault. It's your fault, Keaton.
Mine? Why is it my fault?
If you had just paid attention to the teacher instead of drawing those Star Wars pictures, we wouldn't be here.
I was just drawing quietly. Mine's the one who made a big deal out of it.
I couldn't help it. You drew the wise men arriving on the Millennium Falcon instead of on camels.
Actually, I was pretty proud of that.
Instead of thinking about spaceships, you need to figure out this story. We're assigned to read the story of Ezra and Nehemiah.
Ezra and Nehemiah? Are those the wise men?
I thought there were 12 wise men.
No. There weren't 12 wise men.
There were 10!
10 wise men? No, 10 commandments.
So, how many wise men were there?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Ezra and Nehemiah were not wise men.
Ezra and Nehemiah led the people from their exile in Babylon back to the land of Israel.
Hey, they were exiled just like us. I'm sure they were excited to finally go back home.
God's people were happy to go home, but it wasn't easy for them.
There were new people living in the land who didn't want Ezra and God's people to rebuild their temple.
And then a few years later, Nehemiah led the people into rebuilding the city walls.
The people who had been living there threatened to fight them and stop their building project.
So it was kind of like Star Wars, except no stars? Well, I guess it was. Some of Nehemiah's men worked on the wall, and the others stood watch with swords.
They could have used a Millennium Falcon.
Excellent point, Brooke. So, Nehemiah built a wall and Ezra built a temple. The exile of God's people in Babylon was over.
Why did our teacher ask us to learn about that story?
I don't know. I don't have any idea and I really don't see what this has to do with Christmas.
At least we're not exiled to this tiny room anymore.
The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely and do what is just and right in the land.
In his days, Judah will be saved and Israel will live in safety. This is the name by which he will be called, the Lord our righteous Savior.
So, Maya, did your group learn your story? Yeah, we did, but it had nothing to do with Christmas. We had to look at Ezra and Nehemiah.
Ezra and Nehemiah, weren't they the wise men?
No, Ezra and Nehemiah led the people from their exile in Babylon back to the land of Israel.
Well, our group didn't talk about Christmas either. We talked about how God saved his people from being slaves in Egypt.
So they were exiled, and they got restored to their land, just like the people who were with Ezra and Nehemiah.
How about your group, Rebecca? What happened in your story?
It was the story of Adam and Eve sinning and getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden.
They got exiled? See, it fits.
Yeah, but they didn't get restored. In both of your stories, the people got to go back to their homes. In ours, they never did.
You're right. That story is really sad. It ends with Adam and Eve being kicked out of the garden.
Do they ever get restored?
You know, I think they do, but you have to read quite a bit further, all the way to the New Testament.
In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. And everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today, in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger." Suddenly, a great company of the heavenly host appeared with the angel, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests." When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told.
So wait, you're telling me that the story of Christmas is actually the last part of the story of the fall?
Well, yeah, at least it's the beginning of that story. You have to realize that being kicked out of the garden wasn't the biggest thing Adam and Eve lost.
What do you mean, Mason? What else did they lose?
They lost their close relationship with God, and that's what gets restored.
All of us were affected by Adam and Eve's sin, and now all of us can be a part of this restoration too.
That's right! We don't have to be exiled from God anymore.
God is with us, again, because of Jesus.
Whoa, that sounds like a big deal, isn't it?
It's a very big deal. The biggest. That's why we celebrate Christmas. And Easter, too. It's about how sin no longer keeps us from being with God anymore.
Of course! Emmanuel means God with us. This all fits together. That's why the angels said they were bringing good news.
It's like we get to go home again. That is good news. It's the best news of all. Our exile is over. God is with us.